What is up, everyone? As you know, it is still September 2nd, and I wanted to cover this topic all day today. Haven't had a chance. I was supposed to do it sometime in the afternoon or, just whenever, like during the day, man. But, just some stuff going on, just not really feeling the day, and, just other things going on as well outside of work. But anyhow, I'm still here and it's still September 2nd. And I do want to cover this very particular moment that I was just so proud of to achieve. And this happened in the year 2018. So that's already about 7 years ago, exactly 7 years ago. So, mind you, that day was also on Labor Day. That was Labor Day on September 2nd, 2018. And I did a hike that day. I went to Newport, was it? Newport Back Bay hike in Newport. I think it's called Newport Back Bay Loop or Trail, something like that. And that one, I think, is supposed to go 10 miles, right? So that sounds like an all-day hike, if you ask me. And I was really interested in doing that, and I finally got an opportunity to do it. But here's the problem, though, because it was on a Sunday, there was certain trails that were closed. So what was it? I think it was when it got to mile 4, which is supposed to lead to the aquarium part. I think that part of the trail got closed because it was Sundays. So I learned on Sundays they close. Wait a minute, did I go on a Sunday? Wait a minute. No. Sorry. I said Labor Day? No, my bad. Um, I actually went on a Sunday. Okay. Yeah, that was on a Sunday. That was not on actual Labor Day. Labor Day, I took a rest, but I was also hurt that same day. Not my feet, but something else. But yeah, I actually went on a Sunday. So that was my bad. That said, I went on Labor Day. So September 2nd, 2018 was on a Sunday. Because I remember trying to go on that trail where that leads to that one aquarium close to that Back Bay area. And that one ended up being closed. And I think it's also right next to the Newport Dunes, so if I'm not mistaken. So that one was closed and it only opened on Saturdays. But if I recall, I think I went on a Sunday before and that aquarium actually opened, or that the nature center, you know. So anyways, that part closed, so I ended up having to go where did I go? I took a really long route, and so I ended up having to go all the way to, where that was it, where I took the scenic route on the, was it on the, that scenic route, like after it passed by the Newport Dunes, and you go on that really nice scenic route, going past just cruising along the Back Bay, and and there's a parking lot right there. Was it like an overlook of the Back Bay, and you see the bridge right there. You see some some pelican. That wasn't pelicans, but just like seagulls, and just a nice scenery of the Back Bay, and the cliffs and people kayaking and all that. And so yeah, I remember taking that scenic route, usually by driving, like several times already. It was awesome. Loved it. I even went with Alexis before, and it was so much fun. And I know there's people biking on that scenic route too, and I know people can walk on there. So I actually did that instead. And wait a minute. So that was supposed to be. Here's the thing. I'm trying to remember the hike, where, like, without looking back on my blog, because I know I wrote a blog on this, on how I achieved, if you see on the screen there, 40,042 steps on my Fitbit. That is the most I've ever achieved in one day. You're talking about most steps ever recorded in one day. 48,042. Whew, that sounds very Guinness World Record-ish, if you ask me. But I talked about that in my blog, and without me having to look all the way back, because it's very detailed from how my hike started and then finished, and how it finished. It has some images in there, but without looking at that, I'm trying to remember exactly how I did it, like by memory. So what I'm trying to remember is, I think mile 3 was when I came from the other side of that scenic drive, and I think I went down the stairs to go down, that mile right there. I think that was where it led to, or supposed to be, the nature center. And so I was walking alongside the back bay, and there was a bunch of kayakers there, and it was a long ass walk, and it was fun, but then it got pretty tedious, because it was a very, very elongated walk. Eventually that led me to the nature center, and from there, that's when I learned it was closed. And unfortunately, I had to take I don't know if you want to call it a detour, but I ended up having to go all the way, what was it, like past the Newport Dunes, and I had to go all the way down on the street. Oh my God. I'm just trying to remember clearly that I had to walk on the street. I think it was this one street, and it took super long. I think it's about like an hour and a half or something, 1 hour and a half or something like that. I know it was super long. I'm trying to remember this by memory, because I know it's been 7 years, but I just know that I just remembered I walked on the street. So at that point, it didn't really become a hike. It was, you can call it a street hike, but it was actually just more of a walk, trying to go all the way back from the beginning. And that part was, it was very tedious. It was very tiring, and I'm trying to remember how many steps I already had at the time. I think it was like 30,000, something like that. But I gotta look back at my blog when I get a chance. But again, I'm just trying to, discuss this entire moment by memory, without having to look back at my blog. So I'm just trying to challenge myself here. I just remembered I walked on that street, and I think I had to make a turn to another street going on Jamboree Road. And that one took hella long, because not only was it so tedious, it was starting to get super tiring. My feet were already starting to hurt. I had the right shoes on and everything, but it was unexpected for me to just walk on the street, because of the fact that the rest of the mile loops were closed, because it was on a Sunday. So I learned that on Saturday, all the trails, or all the mile loops would be open. Now, would I do this hike again? Sure. It has to be on a Saturday, not a Sunday, so that all the miles will open up. All the mile loops would open up. But anyways, getting back to what I said, I was on the street, and boy, oh boy, was it so tiring. I'm trying to remember what time it was that when I headed back. I think it was around 4 o'clock or 5, I think. No, I think it was, around 4 or 5, because I was on the street just trying to get back. And it was not only was it so tedious, but it was so tiring that I ended up finally back where I started. I think where I kind of started. I think that was part of the trail where I started, and then it took me all the way back to, I think that was where it started, but that was like, it wasn't a loop at that point. It was more like a forward and back kind of hike. So because of the fact that the rest of the trails, the mile loops, were closed, so I ended up having to go on the street and back to where I basically started. So I did that, and then I just had to hike all the way back, trying to remember what else I did. I think I walked on that bridge to go all the way back. I remember going to the nature center first before doing the hike, and it was really cool inside. There was one like right before the hike, and And eventually I started the hike, and believe it or not, I think, what time was that? I think it was like 9:30, or it was around 9 a.m. I started that hike, and then, believe it or not, I finished around 4:30 or so. It was like almost 5, or yeah, I remember it was like around 5-ish, 5:30-ish, or yeah, dude, it was a long ass hike, and obviously I think that took like almost 8 hours, especially the fact that I was on the street. I bet you if I wasn't on the street and I went through all the miles, I think it would have, I mean, who knows if it would still lasted that long, but for the most part, yeah, I think if I wasn't on the street, it wouldn't have lasted that ridiculously long. But because I was on the street, it's how I got to this many steps. It's still record breaking to this very day, which is why I wanted to share this on this very episode right here, because it is very memorable. And I know I'm not wearing a Fitbit watch anymore. The last one I wore, I think, was a Charge. I think with this one, when I recorded 40,042 steps, was with, let me remember this correctly. It wasn't a Versa, because in the Versa I had it in 2019. So I think it was, not Charge. What was the first one? It was that first Fitbit that I used. I'm trying to remember. I think it was the old, I know it was an old Fitbit that I used before I used the Versa. So yeah, that was the Fitbit that I used in 2018, because in 2019, around April, was it April 30th or something like that? Right at the end of April, I started using the Versa, or at least I think it was the Versa that I started using it. It was sometime like either at the end of March, end of April, I started using the Versa. So I was still using the older Fitbit at the time. And yep, as you can see right there on the right side, you see the proof: 40,042 steps, 82 floors, 18.29 miles, 5,027 calories burned, 354 minutes. You're talking about active minutes. And yep, it was recorded on Sunday. You see right there, Sunday, September 2nd, 2018, 7 years ago from this day. And you can see the pretty picture in the background of the back bay, and those are all my own pics, by the way, including me and that telescope. Just looking through the telescope right there. So as you see, it's called Newport Back Bay Trail. Yep. And in big bold letters, it says 40,042 steps. And you can see right there all the important notes. Most steps achieved in a single day. New record. Yep. And you can see that bridge right there. That was in the middle of the hike. And with me and that telescope, it also says most steps achieved at any hike in a single day. Yep, that is so true as well. Because usually in a hike, it would be like 20,000 steps, depending which hike I'm in. But, I've done previously, before this Back Bay hike, I think I did, I forgot what the hike was called. I think it's called Salt Creek Trail in right by Aliso Beach, and that one I got 31,000, or I think it was 33,000. Trying to remember. I know it's around 30,000. I think 33,000 or 32,000, something like that. I think it's about 33,000. So which was the previous high, and that was on a Sunday as well, in February. And I recorded that, and now this one is still the new high to this day, 40,042 steps. And again, I'm not wearing a Fitbit watch anymore, so if I was still wearing it, who knows, maybe I would have been able to beat this record. But I would have to be somewhere, like the perfect spot would be in Vegas, where I'd just be literally walking, like walking, I would have to be walking to the stratosphere and back, or just walking around a bunch of hotels, especially if my hotel is like on the far end, and then I gotta walk all the way to the far end for me to beat this many steps. but I know it's not going to happen at this point. So this will just be the record I will have already achieved for life. 40,042 steps, because I'm not wearing a Fitbit watch anymore. The last one I had was a charge, and unfortunately the charger for it just got damaged somewhat. Cannot be able to charge it no more. So yeah, and you can look at the third picture right there. First record of 40,000 plus steps in a single day. Whew. Yeah, man, it's legendary. And you can see my signature right there. Jeleno Popster. Yeah, man, I've used that on a lot of my my Popster artworks, Sarah G related artworks. And so, yep, I just thought I would share this because it is a hell of a moment, and it's very historic, it's very legendary. Did it in a hike, and it was the Newport hike. It was the day before Labor Day, and I just thought I'd like to share this out there. It is very long, because if you're considering for a hike like that to be, especially for me, 8 hours, if you're talking about going on a detour on the street that took a long ass time, then yeah, that's how I got the number that I got. So now the question is, will I be able to beat that the total number of steps in the future? If I'm wearing a Fitbit watch, heck yeah. If I'm wearing a charge watch and I'm able to buy a new charger and wear it, heck yes. I think it'll be possible. I just need to figure out a good spot where. I think Vegas would be the best spot if you're just walking around a bunch of hotels, especially if your hotel is like on the far end. Then you're gonna walk all the way to the other end of the strip, and that's probably where you're gonna have your best shot at beating this record. At least for me, I'll have the best shot at beating that record, but I don't think it's gonna happen anymore. So the record will stand as it is, until my time is, just especially when I grow older. I don't want to even think about that yet, but I just thought I'd share this, and yeah, you guys let me know what you think, man. It's a very historic moment. I've been wanting to share this all day, and I figured I would share it before the day ends. And yeah, man, I think I don't know if anyone has ever achieved this many steps in a single day, not that I know of. 40,000. I wonder if anyone has tried to score 100,000 steps in a day. Anything's possible, but to me, this is my Guinness World Record, because I don't think anybody would have ever recorded 100,000 steps in a day. It's easy to get 10,000, but 100,000, oh, you're talking about Guinness Book Record crazy. Hell, this is already a Guinness World Record that I've achieved. 40,000 plus steps in a single day. Yeah, man. So anyways, I'm gonna cut it, and y'all have a good rest of your night. Peace.